Okay.
And we'll go.
Excellent.
Hooray. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Pokemon Olympia League podcast. First off, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. We took thanks CJ, we took a wee break so that we could, eat loads of cake and, celebrate the turning of another year and not being depressed and old. We still have some cake left over from my wife's 30th birthday, which was absolutely fantastic. Someone will need to tell the guys coming in that we're recording now, so didn't get us jip.
Yeah, we'll have CJ throw them out.
Aye.
Great,
so, how's it going, guys? I haven't nothing planned. I've been too busy fucking about. So.
Well, this is Ewan, by the way. Anyone listening probably remembering.
Yeah, you should probably introduce yourselves.
Recognising my voice. Ewan's here. Let's introduce everyone. What do you mean? I'm Craig.
You're Josh.
Just introduce yourself with a bit more gusto.
I'm
Craig. That's Josh. That Robert.
That Robert.
Hello, I'm Mitchell J.
Mitchell J. Actually speaking on a podcast. Yeah.
Double-barreled name.
Yeah, I know.
And for all we know, since they can't see, maybe Reese is here.
Reese could be here.
We've got Reese is here in the back saying tons as always. So this week we've got a little bit of news to go into, and then we're going to go into part 2 of building a team. And I actually have visuals this week, so you can actually see what we've made so far. Hooray!
Part 2, Battle Tendency.
That's right. Welcome to Battle Team Building Tendency. That's a JoJo reference from CJ, the master of JoJo references. So anyway, you had a bit of news that you wanted to share that I didn't even know about, which was quite surprising.
Apparently, now, this is down to a game being released for the Switch. It's like the...
Not the Will Smith song.
No, certainly not. Switch. The sequel to Sun and Moon, which people have been saying it's maybe Pokemon Stars, Pokemon Eclipse, all of which would sound quite cool. But apparently, and this is according to 2 people that are known leakers of information that's from Nintendo and from Switch related stuff, but also I think that there's capabilities that are on the Switch that don't exist on the 3DS. So I think, as far as I've understood, it was Velicify said it on his channel as well. Yep. He'd been looking at it that potentially there's more new features to come along in a sequel game, which means 20 plus new monsters as well. Apparently it's not fully confirmed, but it's been hinted at there is a lot more Pokemon to be added to the game, which it would be the first time that the Pokemon games have not, it's not that they haven't done downloadable content, because when people data mined X and Y, they found Deancey and Hoopa and Volcanion and things like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, they've had a long history of introducing new Pokemons under the mythical status. Never as much as 20 that is rumoured for Stars though.
But if you think about Twilight, that though, I mean, did you get a chance to see the articles that were up? You just have
read a few. Yeah. I actually subscribed to the Switch Reddit channel because there have been a lot of leaks there, and to be fair, it's looking more and more likely there'll be a lot of really good games on launch for the Switch. I mean, we could do a whole podcast just talking about the Switch, which on January 12th, so next week, 2 weeks away, they'll do a Nintendo presentation, and we'll get more information there. But we could talk about that because Pokemon there's no way Pokemon's not going to come to that. That would just be silly. It's asking for it.
And I think if we think there was the information, I just burped into my hand there. The information that was brought up as well, another thing that was kind of data mined but left out of the game was the Pokemon running and walking sprites, which means that I think there was probably an idea to bring that back, or at least to test it out in the early stages of when building the game.
Yep.
Potentially, is that left in there for Eclipse?
Well, that would
Stars,
be
Twilight,
you're
whatever.
literally walking around with your Switch, so it makes sense to be walking with your partner
and
Pokemon.
If you think people have loved that and asked for that, well, I say asked for that, you don't actually go up to Nintendo and go,
hello dear, can I get back the
I wouldn't be
Pokemon,
surprised
please?
if they did that. I'm sure people will go up to Nintendo. Reggie Fils-Aimé probably travels in an armoured car.
Talking about Reggie, I'm pretty sure, what was that thing he said? Oh god, I can't remember the big thing he said.
My body is ready.
Yeah, I was in class in the first couple of seconds of the game. I'm pretty sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Doesn't
the professor goes, my body is ready, and I'm like,
he's not even got a tap on, and he's like, my body is ready.
My body is ready. So the deal here is, I thought this was brilliant information because it's something that we've kind of spoken about before, and fans of the game have said they've wanted a thing that was all regions or whatever. But this is interesting because when you think, and let's be honest, X and Y were really good games, but people think it felt unfinished, and a load of new things were introduced in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but again that kind of fell flat after a while because once you'd done the game there was nothing else to look forward to. But now it's almost as if, just like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, imagine if new Megas appeared, new Alolan forms and stuff like that. So it's not too much of a change, but it'd be great if, even if just, how many Velicify said it on his post, one ice type was introduced that was Alolan.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see anything wrong with that because you don't have to have a balanced. I mean, there was enough ice type Alolan forms that appeared, but Crabominable, that was it.
The only actual Alola ice type.
Will there be an addition where, I don't know, and maybe in Stars or Eclipse there is the potential of another type to be introduced, and it's probably not going to let you trade it back to the original game, but
See, I had two minds with that because Nintendo aren't one for splitting their player base like that. That's
Yeah.
particularly on like the biggest selling game they've ever put out.
Yeah.
Like I was reading earlier today that Sun and Moon were the Nintendo UK's Nintendo's biggest ever sales in the UK.
Wow.
Like they actually run out of consoles, the 3DSs for it. Like Sun and Moon's a big deal, and only
Yeah.
like that Pokemon Go only helped that. So you
Yeah.
know there is a bigger than ever, and I can't see the purpose of
the other
splitting
thing
that.
is that the way that the game has been presented as well is that, like, in you think about how quickly you could get from in Pokemon Red and Blue, how quickly you could get from Pallet Town to Viridian Forest. You could probably do that in about 15-20 minutes
Yep.
and be right through it. It takes hours and hours for the game in Sun and Moon, and they made a special effort. Like there was a while, I think, with the way the games are structured, and this is what people who only watch the Pokemon anime or played like Red and Blue or played Pokemon Go will never truly understand because they're douches. But the main thing is that when you play like Black and White, there was loads of story, there was loads of stuff to do, there was loads of stuff in X and Y. The problem is that when the game's chock full of lots of stuff, you end up getting to a point in an area isn't familiar to you, and you think, oh right, I'm going to have to explore this area. See, once you've walked past it times when you're trying to hatch eggs and stuff like that, it gets a bit boring. But Sun and Moon had this other thing. Like I was surprised, despite how small the first island is in Sun and Moon, which I've just recently got in case anyone's interested. I've just completed the first island, but I started the game on like the 30th or the 29th of December, and I played it in like almost in an episodic way, which obviously you do, but I played it in a way where I went on from one thing to another, and I realised I would do everything in chunks. I wasn't going to just fire through the whole island, and that took me ages, but it made me appreciate every patch of grass, every aspect of the game, and I think it's grabbing the attention of people. That's where I'm going with it. It's actually grabbing the attention of players and saying, right, just simply running and walking around now is a big deal, because you feel like you're covering, like you're not covering, sometimes you could just run from one town to another, like you could go across that big bridge in Black and White, not even knackered by the end of it.
Yep.
But in the island you've got to run around corners, and it just feels like it's not as if it's more immersive. The games have always been immersive.
They're just breaking it up.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of monotony.
Yeah. It's not
Monotony.
so. It's not so as you're saying. It's not so monotonous as I've been finding when I've been wandering around. Even though even if I've explored an area, I still feel like I've covered like so little ground, and there's so much more still to do. And I know it's at the start of a game, but I guess if Nintendo were to offer downloadable content, which is where I'm going with this, it keeps people on hand, because if I can imagine, especially people that fired through Sun and Moon on the first 2 days, completed it, and like, right, I'm bored now, way back to another game. But if Nintendo did say, oh, coming out now on the Switch is the sequel to this game, plus there's been all these new monsters discovered and new features, people would be like, oh, it'll just be like Platinum, it'll just be like, and if it is an actual sequel to the game, with a whole load of new things to do, plus familiar mechanics, just on a different console, people are probably going to buy Switches just for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why I'll be buying a Switch.
Exactly, especially if they say, by the way, you can have your Pokemon for you, and we've discovered another island. Look, it's over there. Another island. What has all them other Pokemon on it? You've not known that. So yeah, that's where I thought that's a big bit of news. And if Nintendo were doing downloadable content, it'd be great if you're like, oh man, I wonder if there was an Alolan Poliwrath or something, and lo and behold, there is one that's maybe like, you know, part rock and fight or something. You know,
Part rock.
it'd be absolutely pointless because it's like a frog, but you know what I mean. But it would be something like that would be really exciting, especially if it was a new Alola form confirmed, and people would be like, oh man, I bet you it's that Arcanine business or whatever.
Yeah.
So aye.
To add on to like, it keeps you in like the one island, or it does it in chunks. What made me want to stay on the first island more than anything else is that it gives you the percentage of the Pokédex completed on each island.
It's really like, it gives you a reason to go back as well. Like obviously before you would go back to unlock new areas to catch things, but this one it's now kind of like, well, we've gone this way, the story's kind of pushed you this way, but did you see that little cave over there? You can get to that later, but not now. We'll come back to that later. And then like nothing's ever like completely inaccessible. It's just like, no, you'll get to come back. It's kind of taken the traditional progression method and just kind of softened it a little. So you're not kind of thinking like, I'm never going to get to that bit, and that seems daunting. It's like, no, you're on a wee space. Islands are decent size. You can kind of wander about them. But anyway, enough about that crap. We have a team to build.
Yes, which we're in the process of doing when we
was indeed.
and maybe we've got, and a lot of the
Ciao!
What, there we are!
Actually,
Look at that.
something I've noticed is prankster moves don't work on dark types now.
Yes,
I just found that out
fell to that
today.
a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
yeah, that's why I dropped my beloved Sableye. Sableye's
That's
been my
a-
hero in X and Y, but the risk of like dark types and
Yeah.
not being it. There's not a lot, but Alola Muck's been
Well,
showing up a
one
lot.
that
And
could-
Yeah,
that
that's
is mean.
It's everything.
So right, so as you can hopefully see, we have Showdown up. I've finally figured out a way for us to actually show you what we're talking about. So
This is our cleric for
Yeah.
our team, which
well, yeah, let's go a quick overview of what we made
Yeah.
so far, just so people can see. It's straight up there, we've got a Comfey as our cleric. His job's going to be to protect the team from as much as possible while looking out for itself. Dealing a bit of fairy damage to everything, but primarily
with the-
healing up with floral, healing your
floral
keeping
healing
the team
as well.
healthy, and then aromatherapy to keep us all out of those toxics which are getting hurled about a lot. Next up was Hariyama. Now I straight up can't remember if we chose Hariyama for a real reason or if it's just because CJ kept going on about having a
well, I
ultimate
think
user.
the other thing was is that we were looking for something that was fairly tanky, would take advantage of another team's
And
trick
also
room,
for steel types.
threaten out steel types, but not just that. It was the fact that Hariyama alongside Comfey, Hariyama then doesn't have to worry about the belly drum.
That's right.
It will have to worry about the close combat drops, but if it's out there, first of all, as a kind of because we've mixed it, we've boosted its attack and its defences, but
Yeah.
we've tried to balance it out so it can deal damage, but it's also tanky enough to take 1 or 2 hits,
Yep.
giving Comfey enough time to heal it. So if you think about it, there's only 4 on the opponent's team. If they've got like 2 things that are weak to fighting, at least to dark or something like that, and Hariyama gets a couple of hits in with Comfey healing it, you just let Hariyama be a tank that just
That's right,
that
yeah.
rips through the team, and then when it goes down, hopefully there's something in reserve. And if Hariyama's the last thing, at least Hariyama's done enough damage for Comfey maybe to finish the job.
Yeah, that's right. Particularly because the triage ability affects Draining Kiss as well.
Yeah,
So that priority 3 on healing moves also works on Draining Kiss because it drains. Are you alright there, Josh?
I think he was just choking on
Cool,
Spunk.
cool. Well, next up, my hero, Marowak.
Oh yeah.
Favourite Pokemon to be using just now because it's just a boss spinning
Yeah.
its wee stick around.
And we did it to protect potentially any water types. So Lightning Rod just nullifies.
Yeah, Lightning Rod is a lot useful
Lightning.
with everything throwing electric attacks in just now. But even then, I mean, the amount of power that it gets from Thick Club doubling its attack, Flare Blitz is enough to be taken down all forms
Yeah.
of Celesteela, Shadow Bone,
Which
it's
you were
just
calling
good coverage.
Ghost Bone, which I think would be better.
Ghost
It's
Bone
I
is
just
much
got hit
better.
by a Ghost Bone.
Rock Slide for coverage, just because I wanted a spread move
Yeah.
that wasn't Earthquake, because Tapu Bulu's grassy terrain just
takes-
wrecks it for
Plus,
damage.
there's the flinch chance, and if anyone's been watching my showdown battles that I've been having, they're just Sudowoodo. Just it's brilliant. Sudowoodo just destroys everything when Oranguru's like, do Rock Slide again and Trick Room, and then you know what you've done again, and then again, and then it just like the flinch chance from a double Rock Slide is good, but what we've got here is just one chance for it to work, but it's brilliant because Rock is actually a really good type, and that's
Yeah.
what I've found with my showdown team, and I'm close to. Like now I'm in an area in the actual Moon game where I can capture a Bonsly, and I'm just going to make that be the one. Hopefully it'll be in my VGC doubles team. I've never had a Sudowoodo before, so yeah. But in the case of Rock Slide on Marowak, look at that thick club. Rock Slide could chip the health off of things that have just survived whatever you've thrown out before them. So
It's definitely. I mean, it's shown that despite its relatively small base stats, it's shown to consistently work well because Lightning Rod is such a threat, and that Flare Blitz is really scary. You know, it does a lot of damage. My own personal one runs the Bonerang over Rock Slide purely because it hits
Right.
twice for breaking.
Mimikyu.
Yeah, like
and for
it,
substitutes,
yeah, anything substituting is that kind of like
Sashes
deal with
as
that
well.
sashes. Just I figured there's not a lot of useful 2-hitting moves out there, so I'll chuck that one on.
Okay, so
So
now we've got.
what we're going to run next?
Well, we've effectively got a cleric tank,
Cleric
an
tank,
attacking tank,
attacking.
and a full-on attacker. Do we want to bring in this is the one thing I didn't so much try this out in the showdown, but I thought Tapu Bulu was quite a good tanky thing.
I've had a
because-
lot of Tapu Bulu and Marowak have been my core. Like that's where I've seen a lot of they synergize well, they cover each other's weaknesses fairly.
It does give us another poison weakness, but then we can counter that. But the Tapu Bulu thing that works really well, I think, is that with grassy terrain protection from earthquake, which is what we're wanting to stop Marowak suffering, We don't want Marowak to go and take any of them earthquakes. What would hurt it? But Tapu Bulu can also sustain itself pretty well out there as well.
Well, I mean, right off the bat, if you just chuck in there Hornleech,
yeah,
straight off there.
Some people would say Woodhammer, but I think Hornleech.
Well,
if we're going to bulk this up,
if our idea for everybody is as sustained as possible, then Hornleech, less damage, still boosted 50% by grassy terrain off of the grassy surge.
Totally.
So you're looking at going from 75 up to like 100 base power.
Now,
That's suddenly dangerous.
I tried, I built a set. I've not really used it, but this is because I'm a tosser as well. I chose Psycup because I cannot remember. We don't have to put it on this just now, but I had it work alongside something I had boosting stats, and I can't remember what that was. It was something I had using Stockpile. You would think I would remember, but that's one thing that
Palisand?
Yeah,
Palisand?
might have been, but Tapu
I keep
Bulu.
feeling like I want to run a Palisand on something.
Tapu Bulu, like the assault vest. So Tapu Bulu can steal stat boost, which can turn it really, really powerful because it's reasonably good stats.
I mean, one of the things I wanted our team to be able to do is take advantage of other players' things. Like, if we're going to be running a lot of rain, we're going to have like something to take advantage of that, like a even just like a lantern. I mean, it's gonna absorb all the water attacks and have its own electric attacks. You give that a thunder, it might only be like 70% accurate outside it, but if someone's foolish enough to throw up the rain, then we can get in there.
Something else. Would Lantern work alongside Marowak here?
Well, definitely. Because, what you could do is you could have Lantern discharge.
Yeah.
And then all that's going to happen is Marowak won't get hurt by it. It'll get a boosted special attack it doesn't
and
need.
with the grassy terrain up, anyone tries to earthquake the pair of them, it's only going to do half the damage. If Lantern is another tank we put on the team, we've got 2 attackers, and I think...
Well, tanks, we're going to see a lot of tank in this. I think the way that the meta's built and how everything being generally slower and bulkier, we're going to end up with a lot of bulk. There's no way around it unless you want to run Pheromosa.
Yeah, it's exactly why we... On Tapu Bulu, we probably shouldn't put any recovery items like leftovers, but we could give it that generator thing. That's a new item that makes the surge continue. Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of like the Calagas cooker. That's it. Terrain extender, because that means that they can all benefit from the grass, and it's a constant sustained team, which is why if we were to run a belly drumming Snorlax like CJ suggested, it's going to benefit from that. So. I mean, we can be slow and bulky, which is what we've got.
One thing I've been looking at is it's Tapu Bulu's typing means it's going to have a big weakness to fire.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I was looking at.
Stone Edge.
It's less accurate, but that damage coming off there, because remember, it's only 80. It's only like 80 damage, but Tapu Bulu's base stats are monstrous. Like that's 130 attack in there.
Yeah, certainly. And I think if we're going to make it bulky, we can give it the hit points. The defense is quite good. The special defenses, if we go for a specially defensive nature, maybe boost the special defense, attack and hit points.
Let's see what other moves we can settle first. Then
we maybe give it something that I don't know if we want the fairy coverage.
Well, the only one that's really, I mean, Dazzling Gleam's there. I mean, but we're going physical, so
yeah.
I mean, we'll have a quick run through. But I don't like. I use Nature's Wrath because it's basically a super fang.
Oh, Nature's Madness, yeah.
That's it, yeah. So that's handy, just because there's a lot of things.
Does it get played off?
Well, that's what I'm waiting to look for just now, but it doesn't appear to be. Nope.
It does get Rock Slide as well.
Yeah, Rock Slide's good. Again, I love putting Rock Slide wherever, but Stone Edge is just good because it splits anybody White Garden.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people
have power in there if we want to risk the
stat drop.
I've
I've seen a few taunting Tapu Bulus as well, which is is bent. So, especially when your Oranguru's trying to set up a trick room.
Well, I mean,
we could give it a degree of utility in something. I know that Disable isn't incredibly brilliant, but if you think we're slow, so if we see what the enemy's doing, the enemy's trying to set up, we could throw in a Disable, but then that leaves us only with Protect, because we can't not have Protect from Tapu Bulu.
Yeah, but between Hornleech and Stone Edge,
that's reasonable coverage, and we don't need to worry so much about the fairy coverage because Comfey is there as well. We do now have a poison weakness on the team, but that doesn't mean to say that's an incredibly bad thing, because We can take it. We can threaten poison types out with the other two that we've got there, and Comfey can get rid of the poison.
So
spheres.
Smogon's analysis is going physically defensive, leaning HP and into defence, maximising the amount of physical bulk that we'll have there. But you're thinking add a bit more into special?
Special, because I can see sludge bombs, I can see flamethrowers and overheats coming in the way. Yeah. So yeah.
Right, so let's go a special defence nature. I mean,
Sassy.
Sassy's going to drop that speed, which, being a 95 base, we're in a middle. I'd rather, like, we could probably drop. I mean, we're not using special attack, so let's go for something that drops special, add special defence, but drops special
I
attack.
think there's a careful nature.
Whoa.
Right at the top.
Yep, there we go. I
So
mean, that's taken. I mean, that like, we're not using that as garbage, so you can fuck off anyway.
yeah,
so.
if we want to put like a little bit, I mean, we could put the attack to its maximum and then put half in hit points, half in special defence. But again, we might want to have it more bulky than it is hitting hard, and it's not got any boosting moves. So it's entirely up
That
to you
being
guys.
said, if we're running Woodhammer over Hornleech for its sustain and Stone Edge,
yeah,
we want to hit it as hard as possible.
that's very true. So if we can put the hit points in the middle ground and do the same with the special attack.
Yes.
I think you have to actually type it in because it's going to give us like 8 EVs that we've
That's
not
fine.
used.
We can just put those into
Yeah.
more into HP.
Oh, there we are. So we think a 132 in hit points, 152 there. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable spread, and it's definitely getting the benefit of the special defence. And I think that's. And I'm only saying what I do is I've got a Salamence in the doubles team on Showdown, and I have it there entirely just to take out Tapu Bulu because it can flamethrower it. And if Oranguru's there, he's wee business with a fan and the, oh no, do it again. Double flamethrower gets rid of a Tapu Bulu, and I've not invested.
Yeah.
But it can't keep taking special hits like that. As good as it is, it can't keep taking special
Nah,
hits.
you don't. Luckily, there's not a huge amount of special attackers out in this one just now.
Yeah.
Bank opens up and it's gonna,
Yeah, it's
open up
gonna
a whole mess of stuff.
So my only suggestion is for the final two, not that I'm leaving this open, is Lantern and Snorlax because of what Robert just mentioned. And CJ mentioned
The belly drum.
belly drumming, but again, you might look and say, right, Hariyama, the opposing team that you can see before you might have fairy types and flying types. You think, well, I don't want to get Hariyama out there, it's my belly drummer, it's going to be in danger. Snorlax, however, can take those hits, and you can threaten things out with Lantern as well, especially if Lantern just sits there and just uses discharge,
Aye.
or anything like that. So I would say that we've got a reasonably bulky team with one member of it, Marowak, being the all-out attacker, being the threat. Everything else there is able to sustain and help itself.
Should we maybe go for another attacker then? Do you want to go a little bit more?
If we're going to go for a balance with attacks, either Lantern and Snorlax, but we can go for one more attacker, maybe special, because we've got a lot of physical elements in
Lantern
this team.
special, isn't it?
Yeah, Lantern
Lantern
has
is
special.
Oh, Palossand, do you know what? We should maybe give
That's
that a
special,
shot.
but that is
Isn't that Ghost
grass.
as well?
It's ghost ground.
Yeah, because that another ghost.
So
Yeah.
that's
even.
that's going to leave us to a ghost and dark weakness for
bring
that.
up
Actually,
a
never
dark
mind. We
type.
do have free go dark attack moves though.
Maybe someone against fire.
Oh yeah, we might have to definitely.
Shall we? Well, so what? If we're looking to resist fire, then we're going to need what? Rock,
Water.
Yeah.
rock and water.
Yeah.
Relicanth. Fuck it.
Yes!
Actually, you know what? I'm joking about that, but what's its speed tier at? Because fucking
55.
55. That's going to be sitting. I mean, we've got Hariyama's sitting at a
50.
50.
50 for its speed. Comfey's fast. It's out there. Marowak's down at 45 base. Tapu Bulu's fast. We've got a nice we're basically fast, slow, fast, and Relicanth comes in being like, oh, did you use a water attack, did you? But it's that special defense is low. So what if keeping the
got good
water
hit
theme,
points, though.
right? Because I was looking at this today. Why would Pokemon are you not changing to?
AR.
The spider one.
Yeah.
Araquanid.
Ah, haha, Araquanid. Yes, there we go. Thanks,
Also,
guys.
what I've noticed, if we do have Marowak,
Now,
we could
Yeah, they
let
can.
me give you my thoughts on this, right? Water bubble, right? You see what you've got there?
Yeah.
Firepower is halved. So
Which is perfect for a bug type.
it's got water resistances for water, resistances for fire, and bug resistances.
And sustain.
that could be.
That's
Doesn't it also get
important.
fighting resistance?
And it's
Yeah. Because of the bug typing.
How slow is it?
so basically very. But look at this special defense.
Wow.
Well, now, I was running some shout outs to Andrew Sign because we were running some calculations earlier today. If you put an assault vest on Araquanid and even uninvested, that is a 3-hit KO from Marowak. Marowak's Flare Blitz. And it'll even 2 or 3-hit KO Zerkatry, Thunderbolt. Like, not beast boosted, but with that assault vest and uninvested in special defense, it hits, like, it can take a lot of hits.
What we have to do here is use this in the same way I used Kyogre then, because Kyogre on my old VGC team in 2016 couldn't protect. It had to be used cleverly and I had to swap it out. So if we use Araquanid with an assault vest and we give it like it's got leech life, so it doesn't need to worry about that. Leech life.
Wait,
we'll give
leech
it its
life?
health.
Oh, there we go.
So
That's
it's going
2
to
moves covered right off the bat.
sustained back. Do we want to give it priority in Aquajet to clip off the health of anything that's and it can't? It can't
No,
get
it doesn't get
Aquajet. Does it have
Aquajet.
any priority?
I don't think
That's-
Aqua Rings for
Aqua Ring,
healing,
yeah.
though. And it won't work because of assault vest.
I was being for
Yeah.
better strategies. I was thinking.
Well, wait. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Rockstash. So I'm an idiot.
We have to remember that water bubble it only doubles the strength of water attacks.
Yeah.
So anything
There's one
else
thing,
on those stats is going to be
poison
fairly
jab.
weak.
Poison jab for opposing
Fairies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Opposing grass types.
I mean, we can only try it. I mean, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And then our last move has got to be something just absolutely redonkulous. Surf. Waterfall. Waterfall in X scissors. But now we've got liquidation there.
And leech
Scald
life.
actually.
Usually
Scald
useless moves. See what they've got down.
Well,
Yeah.
Scald is special. So
Yeah.
special attacks crap.
Do we have any? Do we have any coverage?
We actually haven't got any special attack
I know.
in the coffee,
We,
so
we don't have any special attackers. However, Araquanid is looking quite good as something that we can have on the field to do damage. It doesn't have a great attack, but it's also bulky, as
Yeah,
Robert's
its
pointed out.
its number one job is going to be to take hits
To take
and
hits
then
and to
be
chip
a
the-
threat. You know, sit
Does
there.
it have any decent cover? Like, I mean, as in widespread moves? Well, there's infestation.
I did see Blizzard, but that's special.
Soak.
Oh,
Spider
spider
web.
web. No, I can't really use that though because that's utility.
Yep.
Well,
Get
That's not
stockpile.
good.
Again, I mean, if we weren't assault vest, I'd love it as a wide guarder, but it's too slow to really
yeah.
stress it. But let's go back up and see.
We'll just
'Cause-
can we put bite on it? That's the dark move it gets.
no, because it gets crunch.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, we've got crunch
Put
up
crunch
there.
on it then.
Ah, well,
That would-
fuck it.
crunch.
Crunch
yeah,
is there,
crunch. That'll stop all
Yeah,
the
look,
psychic
Robert,
types
you know,
coming out.
crunch. the brand.
What?
Oh god.
So we're going to invest in this hit points here because the hit points aren't the best in fairness. They're close to 70, which is all right. 68. But
I mean, as I say, we
there's
don't have
a
to
lot
touch.
worse that have got lower hit points. It's got decent defences and the
Aye.
special defence. You don't need to touch that. We've gone in assault vest with it.
Yep.
If I think about what I've done for my assault vested Conkelder, which was the good glue to hold a team together. Conkelder had its attack was invested in, and I had a little bit in its defence. With its stats, it didn't really need to worry about much else. You don't need to invest in that special defence when you've got defences you could be investing in. That we don't need to touch the special defence.
Aye.
If we look to get something in the hit point, something in the attack, something in the defence.
HP.
Don't know how you want
I'd
to
say.
balance it, but we can't do anything
Like-
for the speed.
Yeah, we're not even going to bother with that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Its job
But
is.
Galvantula's got 70 attack, and that's reasonable. Like Marowak
Yeah, but
has
Galvantula runs
80.
special normally.
Yeah, but it can be used as a physical attacker because it has like decent moves. And now that Leech Life has had that total buff,
Well, tell you what, right off, I want this to try and hit as hard as physically possible. So I'm up to 252 the attack, just for my own peace of mind. Do you want a? Did you say adamant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like that. Let's maximise that as much as possible.
Maybe. I don't really know.
I think the thing is with defence and HP is that when the numbers are fairly similar, it's difficult
You know
to kind
what?
of.
Check.
why don't we just put the hit points maximum and put 4 in defence?
Actually, I'm pretty sure there's if it's an odd number, doesn't it get less from like
Stealth Rock.
or also
Liquidation.
like the leech life even?
I was waiting for you to
Does it get
stutter
less?
into life there, but you didn't.
I don't know.
I mean, that's
played.
it's
Yeah,
not.
that spread looks
Yeah.
fine to me. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Anyone who's out there in YouTube land
Yeah,
going,
of
I
course,
wouldn't
like-
run it that way. It says we're doing it this way.
Aye.
And
The idea is to give us a basis here. kind of get a start of how team building goes. And next week we'll probably run these and just play a few games.
Do we have an account we're going to use? Because we always need an account.
I'll set one up.
I
don't
don't
worry.
have an account, but
Use
the
that
name I
name.
usually have is
I'm not
yes, although yes.
I'm not using your meme shite.
It's not.
We'll set up a
Right.
regular
So-
one.
Okay.
So anyway, right. The
Okay,
last thing we'll do
okay,
tonight
okay,
is
the
we'll get
final-
a final.
The final
Pokemon.
participant,
Yeah.
brothers and sisters. The final participant, I think it's a tie between Lantern and Snorlax. I like the idea of a Snorlax being there simply because to cover Hariyama's weakness. Hariyama is fighting, and therefore if they've got fighting types you're threatened by, you've got Hariyama. You've got something that's got Belly Drum, something that can become a monster in one turn with
Yeah.
Comfey beside it, or you do the same with Snorlax, or we get a Lantern in there to be setting out those discharges that can paralyse. The downside is that we lose a little bit in where the power would have been with a belly drummer, but it's completely up to you guys. You'd have to mix it as well, because if Hariyama shouldn't be there, Snorlax can probably come in
Yeah.
with the one weakness. But if you need to take, if you see the threat as flying and fairy and psychic, and you think, right, all of those things Snorlax can take a hit from,
Well,
and
let's look
Comfey
at
can heal
Snorlax
it.
just now anyway. Because
Snorlax is, it's decent in everything, I think.
it's
Especially if we give it immunity, it can't be poisoned. Thick fat means it can, like, if we invest
that
in
gives it like
it's
half the
good
damage from them.
resistance, especially with a Marowak in there. Gluttony is alright, because if you give it Gluttony and it goes down to half with Belly Drum, depending on how
There's
you've
a-
invested it, the berry will activate earlier, meaning that it'll go back up to its health quicker, and Comfey's not giving it too much health back.
We can't get citrus though.
Oh wait, I'm not on here.
The berries, oh.
I can't remember what it was, but that I saw a site ages ago that was running a berry and your belly drum and you had gluttony. I think it was like exclusive to.
There are new berries. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
they'll be on this, but a bunch of the new berries that were added in
A figgy
Sun and
berry.
Moon do restores half HP at a quarter or less.
Restores half HP at quarter or
Confuses it.
less. Yeah, it confuses if it's a minus attack nature.
Which it
single
won't
use.
be.
Yeah. So the Figgy Berry restores half of its match XP if it's at 1/4 of its match XP or less.
But then Gluttony,
HP.
if it's got half its HP or less, it uses its berry early.
Certain berries,
So, but it uses certain berries early.
which makes me think Figgy Berry won't work with it.
That's a good point.
Like that's maybe why it's
What was-
specifically at.
Well, maybe.
What was the berry that was, I don't, online how, or isn't that, you could go online, you can win berries. I can't remember what it was, but there was a berry that done something.
Well, we can always just go for a
can't remember
standard
what it
like
was.
fucking
It was really hard
That's
because
a
like
standard
5 million
citrus.
yeah.
Makes sense to me.
berries. Wait, but is there a citrus berry available? Doesn't Comfey have one?
No, Comfey's got a big root to
Yeah.
maximise the health back.
Well, there's one thing that we do have like now that we've been kind of sparing on what we've handed out, we've got a leftovers we could hand out. We could give one to Snorlax. Or we may be better with that kind of burst heal of a berry just healing up more than leftovers
Yeah.
would. So if it has a citrus berry, I think it definitely needs return and a coverage move, probably Rock Slide. I know that's all I've done on Showdown, but Rock Slide's perfect.
Yes.
It's covering everything.
Belly.
Belly drum and protect. And that looks good to me, like return for doing the damage that it can, and rock slide for hitting everything that it can't hit, even ghosts, especially coming off I mean that belly drum +6 attack is nothing to scoff at, especially if
Yep.
especially if you're at +6 and with the Comfey beside it, which means somebody's got Christ knows what flies.
Here's what I was
these days.
thinking, actually.
Ooh, Normalium Z.
Normalium Z. Belly
We
drum.
can, we can switch that
Doesn't that
gluttony, switch it for immunity then, or thick fat, depending on what we need. Now I
Don't we
think
need Giga Impact for the normal?
No.
no.
Oh,
No,
no,
that's
that's
only
Snorlax's
for
one.
Snorlax's unique one. Normalium Z will give us Z belly drum, and what that does is it heals you back to full health and then does belly drum. So, for example, Snorlax slow as fuck. The opponent hasn't trick roomed, but we still need to get belly drum off,
Yeah,
and we're going to take a hit. Worried that they might hit us with something that doesn't straight up kill us. Then we can go for that.
I'm thinking thick fat for the ability because immunity shouldn't be a problem if Comfey's still on the field.
Yeah, well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. We're gonna Comfey shouldn't be leading. Like, it should never be a position where it'll lead. It can just come out, fix something
Yeah.
while another one's being a threat and kind of drag that out.
So I think that Snorlax has now got Normalium Z. Look, if we go back and look at Tapu Bulu, and I'm looking at the item we gave it,
Terrain
the train extender. I think somebody, as much as we don't need to do it, somebody like Hariyama, we gave it the expert belt to do damage. Should we slap leftovers on it just to give it that bit of sustain?
Well, it's going to be getting leftovers sustained from grassy terrain anyway,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's on the
the point,
ground.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then we've got Comfy, who should hopefully be able to come out and heal it. Because we won't have, unless things are going like super right, there's no way we're going to have two belly drummers out
Yeah,
there.
that's a good point. Yeah.
So if we have one out and then Comfy there to support, like,
if you look at the situation we've got here, Tapu Bulu could be one of our leads.
Tapu Bulu as a lead is probably the best plan. Personally, I have ran Marowak Tapu Bulu lead for ages, but you could that would be like, you could easily run Tapu Bulu and either Hariyama or Snorlax. There's your lead right there.
Yep, I'm thinking that's why we take the lead position either or. If we look out there and we think, right, there's fighting types, we don't want Snorlax to be in any position like that, and we think Hariyama's probably our best bet, especially because it's got the fake out, it can get stuff set up. Not that we need a lot of that though, but it just depends. Like, when we come to use this team, my opening this for my team on Showdown is always Oranguru and Golem. However, now and again, I swap it around and put Sudowoodo out there if I think I'm going to have to start hitting things hard early on. Some people go out and set up, and if that's the case, Sudowoodo doesn't always get the weakness policy boost, even though I've just said Rock Slide, because that's just all I do now.
Now, I've opted just to take the standard breakdown one here. Like, just,
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
you know, one thing, I mean, when we're going through new Pokemon,
I think that 4 should go in the defence though.
defense, do you think it's going to make much of a difference? I mean, an extra point?
Yeah, but just the special defence is already quite good.
Yeah.
So, and
Right, okay,
there
so
we are.
we have a team. Right, guys, so this is kind of, I'm going to kind of stop it. It's a bit of a quicker video this week because we've been fanning about with a lot of stuff, but we have our team now, so tune in like next week. Next week what we'll do is we'll start running battles. We'll just straight off the bat, we'll go in, we'll hit Showdown, see who's playing, and you can watch us get a butt kicked live/recorded. Also, when I have 6 Pokemon that don't have nicknames, so give us nicknames that won't get us banned from the internet.
But
Well,
we
I mean,
can't.
I'm
We
pretty
can't
sure in
call.
Showdown you can't get banned.
We can't call anything on the team CJ because that's what my Oranguru's called,
It's a bit late for that.
and his
but-
Weavile as
exactly.
well. So if we start naming things up, we could call one of them CJ's waifu though.
CJ's waifu.
Tapu Bulu.
Yes,
Yeah.
we get the silent thumbs up of approval there, lads.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much for coming, guys. Again, I'm sorry it's a bit of a quick one, but we've
Let's just
got
wait
other
for
stuff I need to get on with. Thanks.
what-
You're waving.
Waving
thanks
at the
for
microphone,
waving,
Josh. Well
everybody.
done. Everyone who's interested, sorry to interrupt you there, Robert.
You
but
know,
next,
good.
next week I'll read out some of the Alola
Yes,
diaries.
we need a couple
Oh,
of those.
God.
Well, I'll give you 10 minutes for that.
It won't really be 10 minutes. I'll try and keep them as short as possible. This is
Shut
me.
my arse, I've read them.
I've documented my
I've read like
adventures.
2 of that one and realised, fuck, I don't read the third one, this is already getting...
War and Peace.
It was a
I
bit
gave
like
up on
War
the
and
first
Peace, but
Fucking love
it
it, though, it's
happens to be my take. Well, not so much
You
my
know what you
take.
should do, Ewan? You should just upload them to your YouTube, just a
Yeah.
video
Just
read
a dramatic reading.
With a lot of bad language and the fact that I can't. The characters get on my nerves, but. Yeah, I think you probably enjoy it. Some people have already read them, so but I could have done YouTube videos. I really wanted to do a playthrough, and I just don't have that technology. So what I decided to do was just document it like that. And when we come to do stuff like playthroughs and battles and things like that, you probably see some of the characters I've been talking about, like some of the Pokemon resurfacing in competitive teams. Because now you don't have to breed for IVs.
That's right, aye.
Yeah.
So I just have to get them to level 100.
Just on the note of battling, we have our next, I say next, but nobody actually turned up for, well, we had like one person turn up for the last one, but our Pokemon Sun and Moon tournaments are now kicking off as part of Shadow Crush.
Like, they'll
So-
be finished by then.
Well, it's the 21st, so we've got, we'll try and get some teams together, but if you're up for coming down and battling, we're running the VGC rules, so
sweet.
6 Pokemon enter 4, level 50, they have to be for Alola. Get in touch and we'll set you up. Once I've got the events sorted, I'll put it up in the link with this, and we'll just be, getting ready for battling in IRL, so to say.
Excellent.
Right, well, on that, I'm going to say goodbye, guys.
Right,
Just
I'll
wanna
say
wrap
goodbye
up?
to everyone as well. I've got a Team Rocket
Bye.
bag in case anyone's interested.
I am, actually, but we can talk about it off recording.